Thanks. Please help me welcome Amie Coffey and her speech.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster. Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. And we don't have any distinguished guests, do we? Oh, of course, our Toastmaster of the day. My icebreaker is titled Unbreakable, more as a play on words than anything else. But I did want to give you guys a little bit more of a background about myself, being that I'm one of the newbies, and also, and I hate talking about myself, so this should be interesting. I find other people way more interesting than me, and I love meeting new people and asking the questions, but I don't like having the questions asked of me. So just to get started, a little bit about my background. I am from North Carolina, I'm born and raised, and I lived just outside of Charlotte for most of my life. I was always a great student, went on to Tufts University in Boston, loved it there, and was really pre-med. That was kind of my major, but you couldn't just have a major of pre-med, so I was biology and psychology, and wanted to go to medical school, and started having health issues. And I really appreciate Linda for sharing her story about your scare in the hospital and everything, because that kind of pushed me out of my comfort zone to share a little bit more than I would normally share. And so as I was having health problems, I did end up finishing my bachelor's degree, but it was a little bit more complicated. It lasted a little bit longer, and came back down to North Carolina. I was sick of the freezing cold winters in Boston. But I did come back down to North Carolina. All of my family is in North Carolina, and got a job in Charlotte. Still kept having just these random health problems, and it was like stuff that you would not necessarily point your finger on and say, oh, it's this. And so I kind of kept dealing with it, and it started out as just like fatigue, not feeling too great all the time, not being able to think straight or be able to focus on stuff. And it turned out a little bit after I had moved back and after finished college, I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. So that to me was like this huge, like just punch in the gut, because I was like, I want to be a doctor, not go to the doctor. And so I actually wanted to be a neurologist, which is the type of doctor you go to when you have multiple sclerosis. And I was just devastated. And basically had what I would pretty much call like the lowest of the lowest year of my life, because I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, thought I was going to be in a wheelchair by 30. Like, I was so terrified of it. And I ended up losing my grandfather shortly after that, and losing my job, not related to the health issues. I will say that they were good people. It wasn't because of that. And I was just devastated. And I'm like, here I am with this, degree. I'm ambitious. I'm that overachiever that is really obnoxious, but that's just how I am. And I feel like completely devastated and defeated. And I did some research and found a treatment plan that ended up working very well for me, and was able to have hope again. And it basically is research that is looking at diet and how it affects autoimmune diseases. And was low-fat vegan I was on a low-fat vegan diet for a year, and it completely changed how the course of my disease. And I then decided, I'm going to do something different. But I had to have a little pity party and a funeral for my dream of doing what I wanted to do growing up, and change that. And so I went back to school, got my master's in business. For some reason, thought Boone, North Carolina would be a great place to go. Decided I'd have some more freezing weather and a lot of snow. And I loved it there, had a great time. Finished, came back to Charlotte area to get a job. And then this time my whole family started moving down here. And I, like somebody said, moved down here a couple of years ago. Started working as an accountant. I hadn't worked as an accountant prior to. I had classes in it, but never actually worked as an accountant. And I also have my own Mary Kay business on the side, so that's kind of been another way for me to meet new people and learn about people and do something that is more positive. And so that whole experience, although it could be seen as super negative or, I don't want to say, not tragic, but it's life-changing, it is, has turned out to be a much more positive experience. And so the reason for Toastmasters is just to meet more people, get more comfortable sharing my story and building my professional skills. So thank you guys for being so receptive and so warm, and I really appreciate you all. Thank you very much.